You just hold on a sec, I gotta get some props here. Got my magic hat. Yeah. And I got my magic stick, because when we're talking about strategies to drive revenue, oftentimes it feels like we need some magic involved, so I'm just gonna put this here. And just wondering a little bit about who is this guy. Obviously I don't have an accent that is from here. But I work at NewsCorp, and I work in the space of innovation. C. Little, well, because I love my hat so much. All right. Yeah. So I moved here from Vietnam, and I spent 13 and a half years in Vietnam. And one thing I realized when I moved here is that Vietnam and Australia are very different. And I'll tell you a little story, because when we're talking about revenues, you know, and with clients, it's really so much more about how we present the information about campaign performance and what it is that we're telling. And for me, it's really about storytelling. So I'm sitting in this cafe on Ho Gum Lake in Hanoi. It's about 2002, and I ask the waiter if I can have a ham and cheese sandwich, because on the menu there's a ham sandwich and a cheese sandwich. And he looks at me and he says, "Sorry, cannot." And this conversation is happening in Vietnamese, so I ask, "Well, you have a ham sandwich and a cheese sandwich, why can't you just put them together?" He says, "No, I'm sorry, we just cannot do that." So I looked at my friend and I said, "Okay, can I have a ham sandwich and a cheese sandwich?" Because they were all $1.50 a piece. So I can afford that. He looked at me and he was suspicious, as you'd expect. And he brought them, and I looked at him and I very openly took the ham and the cheese and put them together. And he was so upset. I broke the rules. I did something wrong. But really, that's what happens sometimes. And when we're communicating and we're telling these stories, it's really important that we know the outcome that we're trying to achieve. So I'd like to tell you a story about an OTP named Johnny. So Johnny is this banner, this rich media piece, lots of excitement going on. You've got to click through there, a nice call to action. He's got a video playing there. And Johnny starts on his adventure. He goes along, he visits his favorite websites, going up the hills, up and down. He makes lots of new friends. And at the end of the journey, he gets to enjoy and get played with, in the right way, by people from around the world, right? But when it came time to tell his story, his amazing engagement feeds were lost. Because the only thing that were recorded were the clicks and the impressions. And so Johnny was sad, and he was forgotten. So the question is, what is the moral of this story? What do you think? Anybody?
There's more to advertise.
Don't be a banner. Yeah, don't be a banner. If you tell a great story to your audience, which in our case usually the advertiser, they're going to want more. And if you tell a bad story and just sort of tell the story that they want to hear, which is, did you achieve reach and did you deliver, we just get pushed around and we're not actually doing something important. What they don't tell us, but we should really be delivering, is a unique perspective. What is it that we did differently from a publisher perspective, from an agency perspective? If you're in ad ops, you have access to all of the data. You know, whether you're serving it or even as third party, you can still make inferences off of that. How many people send out spreadsheets? Anybody? Raise your hand. Yeah. How many clients ask for something else? Not many hands up. So they're not asking, we're not giving, because it's kind of a pain in the ass. However, There are tools out there like Tableau and other visualization tools. There are BI tools out there that do incredible stuff. There's no reason why we can't begin looking at ways to deliver insights that make sense. Lastly, giving details on how to improve. Yeah, okay, so we can put this here, put this there. Is this market ready for A/B testing? Is it ready for more creative, dynamic delivery? Can we begin using the tools we have at hand to do a better job? I think so. When I was in Vietnam and Indonesia at Group M, we'd send these reports and we'd make a graph that showed the click-through rate, and we'd say you achieved this many impressions, this many clicks with a click-through rate of this in a summary paragraph. Nothing new there. Really boring. It didn't really help. So we started getting search and social into the mix. Said, okay, well, what happens when we begin tracking what's happening across our media? How can we begin telling that story? We built a homegrown Vietnamese language social listening tool. We started saying, okay, if we're going to make this commitment to you to be telling the story, we need to be giving you proof that it's working. But we can't do it unless we actually listen. So we got some guys together and said, let's go build this tool and listen to it. They spent more money. We grew the spend in digital from 2% to about 15% the time I was there in digital spend, so it was pretty good. TV wasn't very happy about that, but that's all right. Now versus the future, we've got clicks and engagement. We've got this wonderful story of viewability, brand safety. You've got, what else we got? In Target, we got OCR and VCE, lots of competing platforms that tell us different numbers, clients pointing fingers saying, hey, you didn't do this, or your audience is off target. And then we ask the question, well, who did you target? And they say, oh, I didn't actually know. And we have to contest with the fact that there's going to be more technology and more kind of scaremongers out there that say you have to use this. And the agency says, oh, well, we don't really have the position, but we're going to tell the publisher you have to use this, and someone's got to pay for it, and someone has to explain why something didn't match up. And so when Google Analytics and DoubleClick don't even match up on the same platform, what do? You get all of these different platforms that sort of compete. The Internet of Things, a description that sort of fits but is kind of annoying, is coming. And not there we go, that was scary. For me, the starting point, and I think the story that I'd kind of like you to walk away with today, is to be thinking about pushing clients and challenging them back and saying, okay, let's not just talk about clicks, but let's talk about what you're trying to achieve. I call it the ROO instead of the ROI. It's the return on objective or outcome. But we deal in the pay, owned, and earned space, and depending on the agency or the client you're working with, they go here. We've got measures in each space, and usually we're just looking at CTR, reach, clicks. But if you're talking about reach, yeah, impressions are important. If you're looking at a site, unique visitors, did they stay, did they leave? Share of voice out there. When you get into the engagement level, doing and feeling, it's not about clicks. Johnny was not made to be clicked on. Johnny was made to play with. That's sink in. Conversions is something that we can do in banners, something we can do on devices. Talking about location, I can track a user and see if did they go into a store, measure footfall. Beacons are around the corner. Now, whether they get adopted or not, it's a question mark. But if they don't, something else will. And we're in the position, as Jonah said, to be leading that. We should be talking that game. We're saying, you know what, we can do better, because we can. And obviously, the last one is advocacy and sharing and doing the things we do. Hopefully, you guys are all hashtagging this and saying, oh my God, Aryeh is so awesome. I love that. His hat. Someone mention my hat, please. And lastly, we are measuring, the efficacy of it, and we do need to talk about dollars and cents. But it's up to us again to say, hey, instead of giving me one creative, why don't you give me two? Spend a little bit more money up front, and let's see which one does better. Let's give you a better performance. Let's talk about delivering a different message to Brisbane, to Perth, to Sydney, to Melbourne, instead of the same banner to everybody. How about Australian traffic and non-Australian traffic? Like, let's think about turning things off and on a little bit. Big data, another word that I really don't like, but is kind of there. I'm currently wearing not one, but two devices. I've got a Sensing Gear 2 and a Nike Fuel Band, because I'd like to see, what are these things telling me? What kind of information am I getting? How can I link what we're doing at news from a content perspective and advertising perspective with what these people are experiencing? Digital out of home. You know, beacons are getting tested in places like Westfield, APN, JC2Co. How do we link that to the activity that we're doing? The automated home, does anyone have an automated refrigerator yet? No, I don't think so. Does anyone want one? Yeah, no, not really. Automated dishwasher would be nice, or automated, like, laundry. Yeah. A wife. Well, in Vietnam, I didn't do laundry for 11 years, and I came here and realized that you have to do your own laundry. That kind of sucked. My key takeaways really is about storytelling, and I really like this quote. The storytelling provides a very useful wrapper for the facts because it gives them boundaries and purpose. And I think our job, as one of our jobs as ad operations people, is to help the sales team and help everyone understand that there is a story to be told. Tell the right story, include the right characters, and think ahead and be ready for the next chapters in your book. Because it's really not today and tomorrow, but as Jonas was saying, technology is changing fast, and it's up to us to sort of be able to understand what the story is and how it all works together. That's about it. Any questions? There's a lot of activity and a lot of engagement that happens beyond that. So if you could measure brand engagement and talk about what did a consumer do with the brand, where did they spend time with it, what platforms did they spend time with it, and break out different audiences. We're targeting different audiences, so we should be able to tell a story and saying that this audience does this, that audience does that, and not just on a single campaign basis, but begin looking and saying, well, what's happening over the lifespan of that brand, and looking for seasonal data points. It takes a bit of time, and you need platforms and tools to work with it, but how do things like the weather affect what people are doing on what devices? What time of day? You know, targeting women 18 to 35. Well, 18-year-olds are doing things very differently than 35-year-olds. So, you know, it's up to us to go back and say, you know, let's make that recommendation and say, this group of 18-year-olds, target them here. This group of 18-year-olds over here. These ones are going to be on the mobile, traveling, reading MX Magazine. Flagrant brand mention. Thank you. But, you know, I think it's up to us to sort of not rest on our laurels and sort of lead that way. And I think the avenues of new opportunities for us as ad ops people to get involved in different kinds of technologies, different platforms, and actually create new jobs is going to become more and more apparent.
So from your perspective, what's stopping the ad ops people from making these suggestions, as you say right now? What's the barrier to entry?
Agency. Sorry. No. But I think that there's two things happening. You've got buying becoming easier and more automated, and so there's this expectation that there doesn't need to be thinking involved. And where, as Jonas said again, thank you, Jonas, let what's able to be automated, and let's start providing a deeper perspective on what can be done. I think it's our role to go back to the buyers, whether it's the agency or the advertiser, and say, you're getting this, and we understand this is what you want. Let's look at it from a different perspective. And let's understand, not just on this campaign, yeah, okay, so it didn't perform correctly, but your creative agency over there gave you the creative. It's not just our media, or it's not just the place where it's being delivered, and possibly it is a place where it's being delivered. Let's consider other places where it can be delivered. I think it's us to ask the hard questions and push back. I don't know how many people here are in that have ever done that pushback sort of thing, but once the client, whoever, whether it's an agency or an advertiser, starts getting used to it and having that conversation, instead of a one-way sort of push, you have to do it this way, it becomes fruitful because they can actually see that you have a good intent. You're not just trying to get more money. I think That's probably pretty good on my time. If there's no more questions, I'll leave it at that. Oh,
You talk about adding more value and different metrics to reports, and I'm just thinking from a client perspective with just a click-through rate. They're so demanding and there's so many expectations and they want to optimize and this and that. When you add more metrics into the mix, how do you manage those sort of client expectations?
when the clients give you a brief, are they telling you what their objective is?
Some do, some don't.
And so if the objective is always branding, and then they book pieces like Johnny with lots of engagement, I think that asking the simple question saying, if you're booking something that is going to be very rich, what is important to you? Is it time spent and the actions taken? Are we looking for some kind of deep data in there? Or are you looking for clicks? If you're looking for clicks, I can get you much cheaper clicks, right? But I think it really starts with that objective, and on a campaign level, the objective in the longer term is the outcome. And I think most marketers understand a marketing funnel. Now, whether that funnel exists today is another question, but if you're trying to get engagement, don't book standard display. And if you're trying to get people to convert, build those metrics into the media. Don't just start, tossing people at a website and drop it at, and don't look at, you have to look at the post-click, you have to look at the bigger picture of what's happening. Again, ask the question, say, well, what are you trying to achieve? If you ask it enough times, they'll realize that they have to answer it. Not just say, oh, I want high CTR. Say, well, okay, great. I'll deliver that to you. But is that really going to be something that's going to be useful for your business? Okay. So I'll be back at the photo booth after, if you'd like to picture of me in my hat, and I'll have the magic stick available as well. Thank you.